Listen, all of us on the outside are dying to know what happened on the inside. As much as you can, tell us about the process here that gave rise to these decisions.
Well, the president has made very clear from day one that his North Star is making sure that we grow and support America's middle class. And so that really did inform his decision to reappoint Jay Powell to the chair of the Federal Reserve. You know, over the past few years, we've seen this global pandemic, and yet the United States did not have a financial crisis because the Federal Reserve took steps to ensure that that didn't happen. You know, here we are too in November of 2021 with an unemployment rate of 4.6%. And forecasters this time last year said it would have taken us another 2 years to get back here. And that's, of course, because of the steps that the president took in the American Rescue Plan, but it's also because the Federal Reserve has made it possible for the unemployment rate to come back down, that they have had the kind of monetary policy that was consistent with moving us back to full employment. So I think all of that really does speak to the fact that, the president wanted to appoint someone who would focus on making sure that we get the economy back to full employment and that we make sure to shore up America's middle class.
So, Dr. Boushey, obviously there's a church and state sort of separation between monetary policy and fiscal policy. And I'm not saying that the White House would try to run the Fed. At the same time, in reappointing someone, you want some expectation of what's going to happen. President Biden had some very nice things to say about Jay Powell and Lael Brainard in his announcement here. But what does the president expect out of this somewhat new leadership of the Fed?
Well, I think to some degree we know what we're going to get from this Fed if Jay Powell is confirmed by the Senate. It was back just a little over a year ago that he had the Federal Reserve go through a process to reevaluate how they make policy, and they came up with a framework that gives the Fed latitude to not only focus on price stability, but also to make sure that they are prioritizing getting back to full employment. So I think that says a lot. And then also, especially over the past year, the Federal Reserve has taken some significant steps towards addressing issues around one of the most important economic issues, which is climate change. The Fed has joined other central banks in the network for greening the financial system, and they've set up some internal committees to look at how climate change affects financial stability. So I think all of these things give us a clear sense of where the Fed will go in the years to come.
So Heather, you mentioned price stability and full employment, the two mandates of the Federal Reserve, and we just talked to Paul Krugman about that issue and what happens if they come into conflict. Because right now, price stability is, some people think, a little bit iffy with all the inflation we're seeing. At the same time, we're not getting to full employment. Where is the balance in your mind, in the president's mind? How much inflation are we willing to tolerate to make sure we get everybody employed?
Well, here's the thing. We have been making significant progress on getting the unemployment rate down. Been adding jobs to the tune of more than 600,000 a month over the course of the year. So that is slow, steady progress towards that goal and getting people back to work. And we've made more progress than many of our economic competitors. And at the same time, we know that people are seeing some higher prices at the gas pump, some higher food prices, and that's challenging for families. But the evidence really points to this being about the historic pandemic, about the supply chain challenges that we know that businesses have faced, not just here in the United States and around the world. And that is why the president has focused so much on unclogging the supply chains, making sure that the ports have the tools that they need to keep goods flowing. And in fact, that's what we've been seeing, especially over recent weeks. There's more stuff flowing through the ports now out on the West Coast than there ever has been. And major retailers are saying, hey, our shelves are fully stocked for the holiday season. So I think that there is a balance here, but it is really important to the American people that we get that unemployment rate down and really appreciate the focus on that policy as well.
Dr. Boushey, you mentioned the price at the pump of gas, and we all see it when we fill up on the weekends, goodness knows. There are reports that the White House this week may well be releasing some of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. I don't believe that announcement's been made yet, but give us, in a sense, from you as an economist, is there enough oil in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to really make a difference in the price I pay for gasoline at the pump?
Well, let me say a couple of things about gas prices. So first of all, the president has already written a letter to the Federal Trade Commission asking them to make sure that the prices that we're seeing at the pump actually reflect the prices that those retailers are seeing, right? So what I mean is that we need to make sure that there aren't any shenanigans going on, that prices aren't being unduly raised because of competition issues. So that is one thing that one step that the president has already taken to make sure that we are keeping gas prices down. Now, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, that is available to be released in times of national emergency and when the president thinks that it might need to be done. But here's the thing. We know that this is not just a challenge here in the United States. This is a global problem. We're not the only country facing these issues, but we remain optimistic that as we work our way through this pandemic, we will see prices overall continue to come down.